Mafia is back, and this time we're going way back in time. Mafia, the Old Country, is a brand new entry in the classic crime franchise set in the brutal underworld of early 1900s Sicily. Today, we're breaking down everything we know about this game so you have all the info you need before it hits shelf. So what's the story here? Mafia: The Old Country is the fourth main game in the Mafia series, but it's actually a prequel to the very first Mafia from 2002. It's developed by Hangar 13, the studio behind Mafia 3, with help from Stormine Games. The big goal this time around is to return to the roots of the franchise, a tight, linear narrative and a cinematic gangster story. Think of it more like the first two Mafia games and less like the open world style of Mafia 3. Hangar 13 has even said it wants this to feel like a classic mob movie, with all the authenticity and grit you'd expect. Mafia: The Old Country officially debuted at Gamescom in August 2024 with a teaser trailer. We got the full reveal trailer at the Game Awards 2024, even though a shorter version leaked a bit early. Hangar 13 says they've poured 22 years of Mafia experience into this origin story. Oh, and the price point? Only $49.99 for the base game, which is surprising for a big console title, considering recent AAA games going up to $79.99. So, mark your calendars for summer 2025, this one's coming soon. One more quick context note, this game has a mature rating, so expect plenty of dark themes and violence. It is a Mafia game after all. Now, let's dive into what we know about the world and story. Mafia: The Old Country takes us straight into turn-of-the-century Sicily, in a fictional town called San Celeste, which hardcore Mafia fans might recognize from Mafia 2. It's the early 1900s, a dangerous era when the Sicilian Mafia was really coming into its own. The game centers on Enzo Favara, an original protagonist we've never met before. Enzo had a brutal childhood of forced labor in Sicily's sulfur mines. Against this backdrop of hardship, he sees one way out, joining Don Tolisi's crime family and becoming a man of honor in Cosa Nostra style. Enzo will do anything to earn his place. The story is all about that Mafia blood oath. Enzo literally swears an oath to the Tolisi family, and that oath comes with loyalty, power, temptation, and a whole lot of sacrifice. The game's tagline is even "Family Takes Sacrifice," which tells you what kind of gritty tale this is. We'll see Enzo climb the ranks of the Torrisi family, doing jobs, building respect, and dealing with rival gangs and lawmen along the way. It's shaping up to be a classic Mafia origin story, exploring how organized crime took root. Hangar 13 promises a mix of soulful, emotional storytelling and tense action, a narrative of life or death, of vengeance and honor. On the character front, we know a few names. Enzo Favara is our hero, Don Bernardo Torrisi is the boss of the Torrisi family, and his daughter, Isabella Torrisi, also features in the cast. We've even heard that up to 4 characters from previous Mafia games will make appearances, though how they fit in is a mystery so far. Bottom line, the game is a deep dive into old-world Mafia life in Sicily with a whole new cast of allies and enemies for us to meet.
Okay, how does Mafia: The Old Country actually play?
Hangar 13 says expect a third-person action-adventure experience with a heavy narrative focus. It's linear, meaning there's a golden path through the story, similar to the first Mafia game or Mafia 2, but you're not locked inside rooms forever. The world of 1900s Sicily is fully realized, so you can still roam around and explore between missions if you want. Combat-wise, we're getting a mix of old-school melee and period firearms. One new highlight, knife duels. Yep, in the trailer we saw Enzo clashing stiletto with another gangster. Stealth might be a thing too, since they mentioned ambushing rivals for brutal takedowns. Of course, guns are in the mix. We'll have era-authentic weapons, handguns, rifles, and that classic Mafia shotgun, the Lupara. The deluxe edition trailer even shows off a Lupara Specialis sawed-off shotgun, a Vendetti Speciale pistol, and a fancy stiletto knife. Expect every gunfight to have a gritty, realistic feel. Hangar 13 says it's more like the original Mafia's grounded shootouts than the over-the-top action of Mafia 3. Movement is period authentic too, you'll run around on foot in city streets and alleys. But since it's 1900 Sicily, horses and primitive automobiles are your main ride. We saw Enzo galloping through vineyards and speeding down dirt roads in an antique car, which had the different flavour than driving muscle cars in New Bordeaux or Empire Bay. Also, expect things like trapdoors, tunnels, crypts and opera houses. The environments range from coastal villages and ruins to gritty urban areas and even lavish estates. Hangar 13 is calling it an immersive cinematic playground, so it sounds like there'll be plenty of variety in missions. In short, blade versus blade up close, firearms from a distance, plus a lot of running, riding through early 20th century Sicily. One quick note on UI. We don't have the exact HUD yet, but expect it to be clean and era appropriate, maybe minimalistic on screen for health, ammo, etc. This isn't a big RPG with tons of menus. It's story driven, so the interface should be fairly simple. Graphically, Mafia: The Old Country is shaping up to be a stunner. Hangar 13 is using Unreal Engine 5 for the first time in the series. From the developer diaries we've seen, they're really pushing the new tech, things like nanite and lumen, to make the world look incredibly detailed. Early looks show sun-dappled Sicilian landscapes, realistic weather, and expressive faces on characters. The art director and character team have even said this will likely be the best-looking Mafia game yet. We've heard about them scanning real cars and recording their engines, or digging into tiny Sicilian knife workshops to model authentic blades. All of that detail means the game world should feel alive. The city streets, the countryside, even the smallest objects. Everything has that old world texture. Hangar 13's goal is to transport you back in time, so expect sweeping camera work and cinematic storytelling that looks and feels like a movie. In other words, if you love visual fidelity, this game is aimed right at you. Alright, let's talk additions, pre-order bonuses and price. The standard edition of Mafia: The Old Country is just the base game and it's $49.99. That's a bit cheaper than many full AAA titles these days. Then there's the deluxe edition for $59.99, which comes with some cool extras. The deluxe edition includes 2 add-on packs, the Padrino pack and the Gatto Nero pack. These are basically cosmetic and vehicle bundles themed for mafia bosses and racing gangs. Here's what's in those packs. The Padrino pack gives you a Lupara Speciale shotgun skin, a Vendetti Speciale pistol skin, an Immortale charm, a Padrino outfit, a Stiletto Speciale knife, an old school Eckhart limousine car, and a Cosimo horse with accessories. The Gatto Nero pack adds a Bodio Nero pistol, a Velocità charm, a Gatto Nero racing outfit, and the Carosella Nero race car, plus you get the game's original soundtrack and a digital art book. Basically, it's style and flair for your gangster persona. There's also a Soldato pack that you get just for pre-ordering either edition until release. The Soldato pack includes a cool trench coat style outfit, the Scanaturi Speciale knife, the Tesoro horse, and a Lupara charm. Oh, and one more bonus, by pre-ordering or pre-registering, you can claim an exclusive engraved Lupara Tradituri shotgun in Mafia Definitive Edition, the remake of the original Mafia, as a cross-game reward. So there are a few perks to grabbing it early. But nothing here is gameplay changing. It's all cosmetic gear and vehicles to look sharp as you start the game. So, to summarize the release info, Mafia: The Old Country hits on August 8th, 2025 for PS5, Xbox Series XS and PC. It's single player only. Price is $50 for standard, $60 deluxe. The mature rating means a lot of violence and adult themes, so keep that in mind. And yes, pre-orders are live now if you want to lock in those bonus packs. Well then, what's our overall take based on what we know? Well, we haven't played the game yet, so take this with a grain of salt. But from what we've seen and heard, Mafia: The Old Country looks to be a return to the mood and style that made the first games great. If you're a fan of story-driven shooters with a vintage gangster setting, this is exactly your wheelhouse. The Sicilian setting and time period give it a unique vibe. We basically get to live out an early Mafia origin story in beautiful, if brutal, 1900 Sicily. On the flip side, keep in mind it's a linear narrative game. If you prefer open world games where you can wander endlessly, note that this is more focused on the story. Some fans might miss multiplayer or big sandbox stuff, because this is a single player tale from start to finish. But Hangar 13 is promising high polish and a very cinematic experience, so hopefully that trade-off is worth it. Also, the voice acting decision, English versus Sicilian, had a hiccup, but it seems they fully committed to Sicilian dialect now for authenticity.
Enzo! We can't let them get away!
That should really set the mood. In any case, we're excited to see it all come together. With Unreal Engine 5 tech, a price point of just $50, and the charm of old Sicily Mafia lore, Mafia the Old Country could be a sleeper hit if it delivers on its promises. We'll be keeping an eye on dev updates and the first reviews once it's out. Until then, this is everything we know about Mafia the Old Country. Let us know what you're most hyped for in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, give us a like and subscribe for more from our What We Know So Far series.